Welcome, everyone, to this Power Up series talk. We're excited to have a distinguished friend of the Huntsman School of Business. I'm Professor Sterling Bone, Director of the Huntsman Sales Academy and a professor in the Marketing Strategy Department at the John M. Huntsman School of Business. For all those that are maybe returning members of the Power Up series, thank you for coming back. Also, for those that are new, welcome. This is an ongoing series to provide Power Up information and inspiration to help you as you make this important transition in this new normal that we're in. And we're excited to have these virtual events to bring positivity and uplift to our students and to our stakeholders here in the Huntsman School of Business. And today we are honored to have Kyle Pohl. Kyle is the head of new business sales at LinkedIn Learning. I was fortunate to be introduced to Kyle through some of our former students, friends of Kyle's, and actually family members of Kyle. And Kyle actually holds a degree from Weber State and also an MBA from the BYU's Marriott School. Kyle was the student body president at both at Weber and at BYU, and has had this tremendous career that he's going to share with us. So welcome, Kyle. It's good to have you with us today.
Thanks so much, Sterling. I'm honored to be here with some wonderful students from Utah State.
Well, wonderful. Well, Kyle, we'll let you jump in and tell us a little bit about your career journey and a little bit about LinkedIn, and we'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, well, thanks so much. I mean, look, I'm thrilled to be spending some time with my friends from Utah State. I will say that, maybe 15 years ago, I never would have imagined I'd be doing a session like this for Utah State students. You may not know this, Sterling, but I did not like Utah State many years ago. And it's mostly because my association with Utah State was driving up to the cold Spectrum and then getting beat in basketball by the Aggies. And so I always had these negative feelings driving away from Cache Valley. But I've since healed and I've since seen the light. And I will say that it's really interesting. I speak with, thousands of college students and have over the years. And I've done many sessions like this. This is actually the first one I've done via Zoom. And so I'm used to doing them in a session where we can kind of ask some questions and be more interactive. But of all the students I've talked to, I don't know if there's a school that is more universally loved by its students and its alumni than Utah State. Everyone who goes to Utah State just loves it. And they have such a positive experience there. And it's a testament to the work that you and the rest of the faculty and staff members are doing there at Utah State to make it such a positive experience. So I'm grateful that you would invite me here, even though I'm not an official Aggie. But in terms of my career, I'll share just a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about, I guess, three things today. I think one, I'd love to talk about personal brand and what that is. I'd love to talk about networking, and then I'd be glad to talk a little bit about LinkedIn and what we do there. But when I think about my journey, those three things have all played in pretty heavily into my journey. And I think when I was in college, I never really sat down and thought about what's my personal brand, right? Like, what's my brand telling other people about me? And my guess is that most of the people on this call that are listening haven't done that exercise either. You never really sit down and think, what's my personal brand? I think if you were to, there's probably a bunch of definitions online about what personal brand is, but the way I define it is, your personal brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. And so your personal brand really is up to you to define, but it's others who define it by the way that they talk about you. And if you don't know what your personal brand is, I think I'd make a challenge to everyone is to find out what that is and to figure out if that's what you're trying to do. And I think that the first time I really started, that it really came to light for me was when I found my job at LinkedIn. And I say found my job, but my job actually found me. As I look back on my career, I haven't actually ever applied for a job that I've, after college for the job that I've had. The jobs have all come as a result of my networking and I guess I'd say my personal brand. And so out of undergrad at Weber State, I was a financial advisor. And so I went and worked for Morgan Stanley for a couple of years and I helped people invest their money. It was a great first job to have and even a great career. My brother still does it. And our plan was to go into business together. After I did it for a few years, we'd combine our books of business and he kept on that track and I went in a little bit different track. But the learning there was the decisions you make earlier in your career about your finances will largely determine your ultimate financial direction. And some of the things I learned was you save, you invest early on, and you'll be okay. It's not about how much you make, it's about how much you spend relative to what you make. And it was a great career for a couple of years, but I realized if I was going to continue doing that, I would be in the same place, geographically speaking, and also career speaking, for basically the rest of my life. And I just had this adventuresome itch that I needed to scratch. And so I decided to go back to business school and decided to go do something outside of Utah for a bit. And that's what I thought, that it was for a bit. And I went with the idea of, hey, I'll go somewhere for 2 years. And I went to New York and thought, this is an amazing place. I'm going to go live here for a couple of years. And while I was in business school, then, again, through networking, talked to all the second years in business school about what they'd done for their internships. And from everyone I talked to, far and away the best program for finance majors like I was American Express. They had this job rotation program. They'd send you to different parts of the world and they'd pay your way. And it was just a really cool program. The internship program was really well built out. You're competing against kids from the top business schools in the nation. And I got that job not because I was the most qualified or the smartest kid, but it was because of the networking that I did with the second years who had come back. I went and talked to them and said, this looks like the best thing out there. Tell me what I need to do to get there. And built strong relationships with them. So when the time came to interview, they were telling all the people who were doing the interview, hey, you've got to watch out for this guy, Kyle, because I think he's a good pick. And that ultimately led to the job that I got at American Express, took me to New York, convinced my then girlfriend, now wife, to move out there, which was the greatest sell of my life. And she went out there thinking 2 years, and 12 years later, we're still there. I say we're still there. We're actually back in Utah right now with everything going on with COVID. We're having our 5th baby, and New York wasn't a great place to have babies right now. So we came back here for a bit to have our baby. But our plan is to go back, and we love New York. But fast forward to the job at LinkedIn. LinkedIn came about because of a relationship I have with a guy in business school. Now, this wasn't my best friend. It wasn't one of my closest colleagues. It was a guy that I knew and had a good relationship with. And he went over to LinkedIn and worked in HR. And when it came time for him to say, who should I recommend to come help build our sales organization, he thought of me. And that was because of the brand that I'd built. And I think the work that I'd done in the relationship that I had with him, such that he came to me and said, you should really look at what we're doing. At the time, I had no idea what LinkedIn was doing, but ended up coming over. And it's been the most remarkable over 8 years now from a professional standpoint that I could have dreamed of. And so that goes back to what I would say is, while you're in school right now, while you're thinking about what do I do after college, what is my career going to look like, don't forget that every interaction you have with every student, with every faculty member, with every staff member, with every person you interact with, there's a chance that that person could be your Ryan Giles. Ryan Giles is the name of the guy who brought me to LinkedIn. And I'm forever grateful to him for doing that. But I never would have guessed that that would be the person who would change my life professionally. And so think about your brand. Think about what it means to others. And if you don't know what it is, type in personal branding 360 assessment and find an assessment of a way you can send an email to a few of your friends, family, coworkers, classmates, and say, answer a few questions about me and give me an idea of what people think about me. And then once you read that, figure out if that's what you want people to think about you. And if you need to make some changes, change. So that's personal branding. Let's move in and talk a little bit about networking. So networking sometimes has a negative connotation, right? It's like it's the schmoozer who goes to the cocktail party and goes around, hey buddy, how you doing? How you slapping backs and shaking hands and kissing babies. And that's not what it is at all. Networking is all about how you help the people around you. And I think people think of networking as, what can I get from my network? How can my network give things to me to make me better? And I think if you flip that on your head and you think about, how can I make the people in my life more successful? How can I help them progress? How can I help connect them with people they need to know? That's when your network truly grows. And that's how your personal brand comes in to help your network, because then the people in your network, when an opportunity comes up and something interesting comes along, you're the person they think of because you've helped them, you've added value to them. Now that happens in person, it happens virtually, it happens via networks like LinkedIn. But the most important thing is that you remember that each relationship that you have has a potential for two things. It has the potential for that person to shape the way that your life and career goes, such as this guy Ryan Giles did for me, and that you have the potential to shape the life and career of that person that you interact with. And if you approach networking from that aspect of how do I help and how do I give, then I promise you that network will come back to serve you. There's another aspect of networking I want to talk to right now. And that's from something we call the opportunity gap. There's a major opportunity gap in this world today. And at LinkedIn, our vision is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. And I think there's a moment, especially in our nation right now, where we're seeing a major opportunity gap between different groups of people, and particularly Blacks in the United States. And I think through a platform like LinkedIn, we have a great opportunity to help close that opportunity gap and create opportunities for all people, regardless of background. And so what I would say, another piece of networking, as you think about your network and what does it look like, is there an opportunity for you to bring people into your network that don't look like you, that don't act like you, that don't have the same background as you? And is there an opportunity for you to create opportunities for them that they otherwise wouldn't have if they didn't have access to your network? So those are the thoughts that I have on networking, the thoughts on the power that it can mean in your life. And now let's spend a little time talking about LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a powerful tool. It's an amazing tool. It's a tool that I didn't even begin to understand when I joined LinkedIn back in 2012. It's a tool that has the power to change the lives of millions of people, and it's doing that right now. I mentioned our vision of creating economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. We are doing that, and we are seeing all throughout the world, with close to 700 million members, the way that we're impacting the lives and the careers of people right now. Now, we're also doing that very much through these challenging economic times. We're doing that through the courses we have on LinkedIn Learning. We're doing that through the way we're connecting companies who are hiring with people who have the skills to be hired. But the question is for you, so what? What does this mean to me? I'm a student right now. LinkedIn is like, they used to say it's a Facebook for old people, but now a Facebook is like Snapchat and Insta for old people. So that means LinkedIn is like the grandparent of what Snapchat and Instagram and any other social media channel, TikTok, whatever you're using is. It's like, who uses LinkedIn? It's for old people. Well, I've got news for you. It is for old people, but it's also for young people. It's also for middle-aged people. It's for all people, because again, it will connect talent with opportunity. And that's what it has the potential to do for you. So I'm going to run through an exercise. We don't have a ton of time here, but I'm going to run through an exercise that I think every student in the world should be doing, because LinkedIn has the power to connect. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm not sure how many people are joining this call or listening, but my guess is that less than 5% of you will do what I recommend here. But what I can tell you is that the 5% who do will find great success from doing this, and will go on to find that opportunities continue to open themselves time after time. So what I'm going to show you is not how to build your LinkedIn profile. You should build a robust LinkedIn profile. Every one of you should have an active LinkedIn profile. I don't need to teach you how to do that. If you Google great LinkedIn profile for students, if you go to linkedin.com/university, you'll find all kinds of great tips about how to build your profile. Please build it. Put your picture on there. Talk in first person. Don't talk about like, Kyle was an excellent mentor and helper. Say, hey, this is what I love to do. This is what I'm passionate about. Talk about it in a very casual way. It's not a resume, but at the same time, it's a reflection of you and your personal brand. So that's all I'll say about your profile. But what I'm going to do is share my screen and show you what I think every one of you should do. And it relates to networking, but it also tells you how you can use LinkedIn to network. Now, Sterling, are you seeing my screen there?
Yes, that's perfect.
All right. So if you go to LinkedIn, right, linkedin.com, you get your profile on there, type in Utah State University. Now, I was already on the page, but I wanted to make sure that you saw how I got there, just so you can get there on your own. Now, there's all kinds of great stuff about your university. You'll see a picture there, and you'll see the feed of what's going on. Ignore that. You can go back to it another time if you want, but I want you to go to this tab, Alumni, okay, because this is where the power of your Utah State network comes in. So if you click on alumni, what you're going to see is there are almost 90,000 alumni at Utah State who are ready and willing to help you, because you also go to Utah State. There's a bond that exists, and it's not just Utah State, it's any network like this, that people will say, you are like me, so I am willing to help you. All right. Now that's, again, part of that opportunity gap that I talked about before. Like, it's a privilege that you have this network through Utah State, but it would be a shame for you not to leverage it, because it's an amazing opportunity for you. Now, what you do is when you go to these 90,000 people, you can now see the 90,000 people who have gone to Utah State. It'll tell you, hey, where do they live? Where do they work? What do they do? What did they study? What are they skilled at, and how are you connected? You have the ability, let's say that I'm an accounting student, okay? And I say, you know what, I would love a job in accounting. So I'm going to go and say, I want to find all the people who work, we'll say finance, and I'm going to type accounting. Actually, I'm going to take off finance. I'm just going to type accounting here. So out of the 90,000 people, there are 7,000 people who have accounting in their profile. I can now see where they work. So let's say I'd love to work at PwC. I can go down here, click on PwC. I'm sure there are tons of accountants on this call. Everyone just like salivating over, that's what I want to do, is go work for PwC in accounting. And now you can see of those 32 people, where do they live? Well, 16 are in Salt Lake area. Yeah, we got a few in San Diego. We got a few in Denver. Let's say, you know what, I'd love to go to San Diego. That sounds like an amazing place to work. I want to work for PwC in San Diego. Let's click on that. All of a sudden, I see the 3 people who live in San Diego and work for PwC. Okay. Now you can do this with any job. You could type in any company. If you want to just say, hey, I want to work for Google, you could type in Google and see how many people work for Google. So it's an amazing resource that gives you access to the people that you want to network with at Utah State. So that's great. And you say, man, that's really cool. I'm going to use that. This is completely worthless unless you do this next step. And the next step is the most important part. And it's also the hardest part because you're putting yourself out there. It's much like sales where you have to go out there and make those calls, be uncomfortable, knock that door, do whatever it takes to get in front of somebody that makes you feel uncomfortable before you can actually have success. And it's the same thing with finding a job. Now, here's what you need to do, and take close note. You need to find the person you want to talk with. In this case, we're going to say it's Michelle. I'm going to click on Michelle. I'm not going to click on connect and immediately connect with her because I want to know something about Michelle. Okay. I'm going to go to her profile. I'm going to read through a little bit. I'm going to say, oh, look at that. She did athletics operations at Utah State. All right. Oh, look, she was a student athlete. Well, look at this. You can see down here. All right. PwC athlete. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to connect with her. Okay, now you're saying, that's uncomfortable. I don't want to connect with someone I've never met. It's okay. You both went to Utah State. You've got a reason to connect. So you're going to click on connect. And instead of just saying send now, please do not click send now because she has no idea who you are or why you're reaching out. You're going to click add a note. Now you've got 300 characters to sell yourself to Michelle and tell her why she should connect with you. Now, I don't just want you to connect with her. I want you to talk with her. So what you're going to do is you're going to say, Michelle, I was very impressed with your profile. Start with her. I saw you played volleyball, whatever she played at Utah State. That must have been amazing. I'm a student at Utah State and a huge fan of our athletic program. I see that you work at PwC. I would love to learn more about your journey to get from Utah State to PwC in San Diego. Would you be open to taking 20 minutes with me talking about your journey? Thank you very much, Kyle. Something along those lines. You talk about them. You show that you've looked at their profiles, not just a blind reach out. You tie together why you're reaching out to her. There's a specific why we both went to Utah State, and you ask for 20 minutes of time. Now, here's what's going to happen. Michelle is not going to respond, and you're going to say, this didn't work. Kyle told me this was a waste of my time. It's okay. You'll probably need to send about 30 or 40 of these to have a couple conversations. You'll probably get between 10 and 30% hit rate. You'll probably get about 50% who just accept your invitation without responding. But of those, as soon as they accept, I would respond immediately and say, thanks for accepting. I'd love to grab 20 minutes with you. But of those, you're going to get 10 to 20% who say, yeah, I'd be glad to chat with you. More than happy to spend some time with a fellow Utah State alum. And then you're going to talk with them. And you're not going to ask them for a job. You're going to say, Michelle, thank you so much for the time. Would you please tell me more about your journey? Talk a little about Utah State, little inside jokes about Cache Valley, the things that I don't know because I've never lived there. But then you go in and you take that 20 minutes that she promised and say, how did you get to where you are? Do you enjoy what you do? Tell me about PwC. What's the culture like? What are your hours like? Do you enjoy the people you work with? What's the best part of your job? What's the worst part of your job? Just ask her, ask her, ask her. And then at the end of that conversation, this is key. This is the last question you need to ask, and it's really important. Instead of saying, Michelle, can you give me a job? Michelle, would you refer me for a job? You say, Michelle, thank you so much for the time. We're up on the 20 minutes. is there anyone else you think that I should be talking with? Now, you've told her up front that you're looking for a job, that you're a student, that you're exploring, that you're interested in PwC. She knows that. But by you saying, is there anyone else you think I should be talking with? You give her one of three options. She can either one say, you know what, you're doing the right thing. Keep on reaching out. Simple. She's giving you the 20 minutes she promised. She helped you out. She walks away. The next, she could say, you know what, you should talk to my buddy over at EY, over at Ernst & Young. He's doing great things. I'm sure he'd be helpful to you too. All of a sudden you have a referral from her. She's got a better reason to talk with you. Or three, and this is the gold mine, she could say, you know what, we've got an internship program and I think you'd be a great fit for it. Let me put you in touch with the recruiter or the hiring manager, whoever it is that's running that program, because I think you'd be a great fit and I'd love to help you get here. That's going to happen. If you reach out enough times, that conversation is going to happen. And even if it doesn't, they're going to refer you to more people to talk with. The more conversations that you have as you build your network, I promise you that opportunity will come from this. Over 50% of jobs in the US are found because of people's networks. A very small percentage are found because of people applying online. Yet it seems like, I think I heard a stat that over 80% of time that people spend looking for jobs are spent just spraying out resumes through job boards. If more than half the jobs aren't found that way, why are we spending our time that way? If you build a healthy network, if you create a personal brand that matters, one that helps each other and it constantly builds your network, I promise that whatever you decide to do and wherever your career takes you, you will continue to see success in your life and your career. And it will not be just because of you. It'll be because of the people around you that you helped and who are willing to help you. So those are the words I had for you. It looks like we're up on the time. We've got about 10 minutes or so for questions, but thanks so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
No, thank you, Kyle. And I'm inspired. We have some questions coming in, and these questions have to do with the opportunity gap that you talked about. And one of these students is a non-traditional student who worries that because of their older age, that they're afraid that they won't have the same ability to achieve their goals. Any advice you could give the student that maybe is feeling like they're finishing their schooling a little bit later in life? What could you share with them to maybe inspire them that they can overcome maybe that perceived barrier?
It's a wonderful question, Sterling, and thank you to whoever it was that asked it. I think the key that you said there was perceived, right? I think you look at that as a barrier, but you turn it into an opportunity. Because what you have is, while it's non-traditional from a lot of the other people they're looking at, you bring a lot of experience that many other people don't have. And I think you need to look for organizations and people who truly believe that diverse teams win. And there is a ton of research behind this. If you just Google diverse teams win, you'll see all the research that's out there about the value of having a diverse team. Now, diverse teams aren't just about the color of people's skin on your team. Diverse teams are about all the different backgrounds and experiences and people that are in different people's lives that they bring to the table to have a different perspective. If everyone thinks the same way because they went to the same college and then worked at the same places and then have the same ideas, your company will fail. You need those diverse attitudes and those diverse perspectives. And so what I would say is, do the exact same thing that I just recommended here. Continue to reach out, build that network, look for different ways that you can add value to the network because of your experience. You know so many more people than most people who are coming into school. You've worked in different lines of business in different types of industries that bring different perspectives. So in your classes, in your interaction with other students, bring them perspectives that they may not have thought of before and connect them with people from your network, in your past life, that will help them. And as you do that, that personal brand will come through as, you know what, this is somebody who's coming straight out of school, who's bringing not just the education they gained from Utah State, but 10 years, whatever that number is, of experience of doing very different things. And it's something we would never get from one of the other students that come out with zero experience. So I'd say turn it into an opportunity and know that we need people like you in the workforce. And particularly, we need people like you at places like LinkedIn.
Thank you, Kyle. Another question is, as you talk about that networking is about how you can help others, how can you convey that in your initial LinkedIn Connect request? How can you not look like this is about you, but that you're really wanting to help them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And what I outlined there is primarily I'm asking you for advice, right? Now, the one thing I failed to mention there is that the number one thing that people love to talk about is themselves, right? Now, if it was, I'm reaching out because I want a job, then that would be very different. But if I'm reaching out saying, I want to learn about you, you actually are helping that person because you're giving them an opportunity to share their story. Much like Sterling and Carmilla asked me to come here and share my story today, it wasn't just because I'm such a magnanimous person that I wanted to share this. It's because, you know what? I really value the experience that I've had in my life, and I really enjoy sharing this story. I'm a selfish guy, I guess, like a lot of other people, and I enjoy telling my story. And so remember that when you're asking someone to tell their story, if that's truly what you're asking them to do, as long as you don't get them on the phone and immediately say, all right, what job do you have for me? How can you help me? They say, I really want to learn about you. As you ask them about them, let them talk and let them explain their situation, they'll say, you know what? That was really fulfilling. And I think that most of the value that I at least get in my life and my career comes from helping others. And so I think it's one thing we often forget, that one of the best ways we can help others is to allow them to help us, because I think great value comes from serving.
Thank you, Kyle. Another question, I think this is really taking maybe in a little bit different path, but because of your role on LinkedIn Learning, one student has asked, what any suggested materials or resources that students should be looking for on LinkedIn Learning? Anything that you would recommend as they want to sharpen their saw as they're going through maybe the summer or getting ready for their next semester this fall?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. I should have looked before. I'm not actually sure if Utah State has access for students to lynda.com. So lynda.com, we actually acquired Lynda several years ago, and they have the same content that LinkedIn Learning has. Many universities are still on the Lynda platform, but they're transitioning over to the LinkedIn Learning platform, but it's all the same content. So there's LinkedIn Learning or Lynda, 16,000 courses that you can take. I was just looking at personal branding courses. So the first one I'd take would be one in personal branding. I think another one I'd take would be courses in finding a job. There's tons of great resources on finding job. And we've actually unlocked a lot of courses right now, particularly around finding jobs. And that's with everything going on with this pandemic and the ensuing recession. We're trying to help people find jobs. So I would say personal branding, help find a job. And there's also a great course on there on LinkedIn 101. How do you build a great profile on LinkedIn? So that's where I'd start. But look, anything you want to learn, type that into the search bar and it's there. I've been taking courses recently on diversity, inclusion, and belonging. And I took one just the other day on bias, and it was fantastic. And a lot of great points in there that I hadn't thought about, and opened my eyes to many of the ways that I'm biased on a regular basis.
There's some great recommendations, and I would tell the students that are on the call, just get curious, right? I think that one of the opportunities that is ours in today's world is so much information abundant, to be curious and just to, if you have a topic like you just shared a few that are very important and that are personally relevant, go out and find something on that. So that's great advice. Thank you, Kyle. I'd like to remind all the viewers that that this is a series of Power Up Talks, and we're so appreciative, Kyle, for you taking the time today to join us. We had the opportunity, and Kyle has hosted our Aggies on multiple occasions at the Empire State Building, where his offices in New York are. And Kyle, you're just as brilliant virtually as you are in person in terms of the way that you're able to connect and share very heartfelt advice to our students. For students that are interested in connecting with Kyle, do so on LinkedIn and utilize this opportunity that we've had to be introduced to a friend of Utah State to connect with Kyle. Kyle, we appreciate you taking the time, and it really means a lot on behalf of all of us at the Huntsman School that you would spend some time with us today.
Oh, well, thanks so much for having me, Sterling. It's a pleasure to spend time with the wonderful students at Utah State. And feel free to connect with me, as Sterling mentioned, Kyle Paul, P-O-L-L. I'm the only one on there. And if you're ever in New York, feel free to look me up, and we'll host you there in the Empire State Building as well, assuming I ever get back there.
Perfect. And wish you all the best to your family in this time as you're expecting the new baby and transition here for the summer. So enjoy your time in Utah, and we hope to connect up with you in the near future. For all of those viewers and those who will watch this later on, look forward to upcoming Power Up Talks. We'll have one in 2 weeks from now, and these will continue throughout the summer into our fall semester. So on behalf of all of us at the Huntsman School, thank you for joining us on this Power Up Talk.